Welcome to the Center for Universal Oneness. We are an open, welcoming, spiritual community that supports all faith traditions and invites you to join us on your spiritual journey. We host different speakers each week to guide and inspire us. We are guided by universal principles of acceptance of all that is sacred, and we strive to live in the oneness of love. Please enjoy this presentation.
Reverend Indira Huera is going to be speaking today on surrendering the wisdom of the Christ consciousness and Buddha nature. So I asked Kyle to put up a little piece of Indira's history here, because she is new to us and has a long history, which is very interesting. She's a New Thought minister, spiritual advisor, educator, Reiki healer, shaman practitioner, truth student, massage therapist, yoga instructor, metaphysical mystic. We had a chance to talk a little bit before the service, and she has for a young woman, she has a long history of education and experience. She's got a bachelor's degree in education, a master's degree from Webster University of Teaching, and she's an ordained minister. She's passionate about elevating the consciousness of those, especially regarding the treatment of marginalized people. We've got, speaking today, Reverend Barbara Schreiner-Trudel, and she's speaking on the Dancing with the Universe. And she has a long resume. She's both a Unity and CSL minister. She began her ministry in 1998. She's an international speaker, minister, coach, entrepreneur, author. She's currently serving at Unity Church of Agape as spiritual leader and at the Verity Center for Better Living as the associate minister. And you can get more information. We'll make sure that that's in the newsletter at her website. So I am particularly happy to introduce Reverend Barbara for the first time speaking to us. And she has agreed to stay on after the service for a few minutes during our coffee talk. So if you have questions, save them and we'll ask her about that then.
I love that song. I love that song. And I love the reminder that there is but one power. And so when I think of the universe, that's exactly what I think of, is that there is this one divine energy fully present everywhere. And for me, dancing is this fluid, comfortable, and confident motion that feels the energy of the music and responds to it physically. And so when I think of dancing with the universe, I think about finding that true, authentic self within me and living from there with wild abandon, just allowing who I am and whose I am to be fully realized. So for me, that's the most important thing, is recognizing that there is that one power and it exists in every single one of us. And in fact, there is no place where God is not. So getting to that idea of oneness, which is truly what I believe about life, that there is only one thing going on and we all live, move, and have our being within that one thing. I wanted to start today with a story that I found quite warm and beautiful as I read it for the first time. And it surprised me a little bit, but then it didn't. I thought, yes, this is the way life should be. So this sort of talks to the topic of today. In the early 20th century, Jews from Eastern Europe fleeing religious persecution immigrated to the US in large numbers. And one family by the name of Karnofsky came from Lithuania. And after the hardships of their journey and the fears about clearing Ellis Island, their hearts were open and filled with compassion for others who might be struggling even more than they had. And so one day, the Karnofsky family saw a 7-year-old boy who was alone, hungry, and desperate. So they brought him into their home for a little bit of respite from the harsh streets of the lonely city. He stayed and spent the night with his Jewish family. And for the first time in his life, he was treated with kindness and tenderness. When he went to bed that night, Mrs. Karnofsky sang him Russian lullabies, which he sang with her. And later he learned to sing and play several Russian and Jewish songs. And over time, this boy became the adopted son of this family. Mr. Karnofsky gave him money to buy his first musical instrument, as was the custom in Jewish families. And later, when he became a professional musician and composer, he used these Jewish melodies in compositions such as St. James Hospital and Go Down Moses. The little boy grew up and wrote a book about his Jewish family who adopted him in 1907, and proudly and fluently spoke Yiddish. In memory of this family, and until the end of his life, he wore the Star of David and said that in this family, he learned to live a real life, and he learned determination. The little boy's name, Louis Armstrong. That's a big story when you think about that time and you think about the idea of how Black people were treated in the United States and many places in the world for that matter, to have a family take this young child in and raise him up. But what a man he has become or did become. And whenever I think of Louis Armstrong, of course, I think of a wonderful world. And I believe that's what we live in, is a wonderful world, regardless of what's going on around us, the chaos and confusion that we see here and there, regardless of all of that. What I know for sure is the majority of people on this planet truly are here to experience joy, to share love, and to support their families and their friends and be all that they can be. The interesting thing that I find, especially in North America, is that there's some kind of hesitation about allowing our authenticity, like our authentic voice, to really come out and be heard and be seen and be felt. And I have a television show called Just One You, The Joy Show with Rev B. And it's all about the moment that we can fully embrace who we are, the moment that we can get rid of all the stories we were told as children or whatever. I remember, that idea when I was young that children are to be seen and not heard. It's like, well, that sort of sets us up to kind of dumb down our real self because we're trying to figure out how to fit in. And I think fitting in is one of the biggest mistakes we've ever made, and it creates mediocrity. I think what we need to do is stand out, stand up, stand proud, be willing to be naked in the face of the entire universe and to go with the energy that is our true energy, that feeling inside of us that somehow I'm part of something truly magnificent. I was teaching a class the other day and we were talking about the giant within. That power within us, the subjective mind that takes what we think, what we say, what we do, and brings it into manifestation, right? That energy that actually forms this nothingness into something. And when I think about that, I get really, really excited. My spiritual epiphany happened almost 40 years ago in a Nazarene church of all places. It's like I went in there, I walked in one night and I was in complete darkness. In fact, I was a nasty, angry person. Went there because my mother-in-law asked me to, and I wanted her to like me because fitting in seemed like an appropriate thing. But when I came out of that church service that night, something had happened. It's like lights had been turned on. I went from darkness into light. And in that light moment, what I knew was God is love. That was the feeling, the experience that somehow this divine energy was the only thing that exists, and that was very real and very tangible. Interestingly, at the time, I was a very heavy smoker, and about 7 days later, I had this idea that this is the temple of God, and I did not have the right to kill it. And so I quit smoking, butted out the last cigarette, and never smoked again, but also never had a craving, which sort of speaks to me about the power of the mind, that when we change our mind about something or we implant a new idea that's stronger than the previous one, whatever was hanging on that old vision, that old struggle, it's just completely dissipated. And so I never ever smoked again. But the other thing that came to me after some time there, I kept talking to pastor, how can you say the rabbi's going to hell? How can you say that, people who've never heard of Jesus Christ are going to hell? I just can't buy that. And so I eventually left and found the Center for Spiritual Living. And when I walked in there, the energy I felt was an energy of love, kind of like what I felt here this morning. Just this, I love what you all stand for. I love what this center stands for, the inclusivity, the acceptance of all paths. You know, it's like we're walking along and we're not separate. There is no separation. We're all part of this one thing. And if we can come together and dance with the universe, feel the energy of life as it flows and moves and go with it. You know, what's happening in this moment is what's happening in this moment. I don't need to think about an hour from now or a week from now or what happened yesterday. You know, the past, gone. If I'm living there, I'm powerless. The future doesn't exist. If I'm striving for something out there, again, I'm powerless. But now, as Eckhart Tolle says, the power of now is that within me, there is this giant potential that can accomplish all things. What I think about, I bring about. This idea goes into that divine presence, and all of a sudden manifestations start happening that appear miraculous. But when we come to understand the universe, we realize it's just the natural outworking of the law. Ernest Holmes talks about love and law, love being the energy of the universe, law making it happen. So every thought we think, every idea we have drops into that universal subjectivity. And the universe can only say one thing because it can't choose. It just says yes. It simply says yes. So if I'm thinking about how hard life is, the universe goes, yes. Yeah. If I'm thinking about how great life is, the universe goes, yes. If I think I'm an idiot, the universe goes, yes. And I've seen some great examples, well, not so great examples. You know, sometimes we think something and then somebody does something really nasty to us. We go, oh, how dare they? But if we were to just reflect back on the previous thoughts, I'm going to share a really embarrassing story. I was busy. I'm starting a new center. I just have been so busy. And so I'm running along, trying to get a bunch of things done. My husband's really busy doing what he's doing. Our child was busy at choir practice or whatever. And so my husband said, look, stop and pick something up for dinner. And I went, I'm halfway home. What's in between? He said, just go to McDonald's. Now, I've been struggling a bit with weight. And at that time, I was about 40 pounds heavier than I am right now. And so as I'm driving to McDonald's, in my mind, I'm going, this is the last place I should be eating. I should not be going here. So I get in the lineup and somebody cuts in front of me. And I look at her like, you know, what are you doing? She gets out of her car and she goes, you're so fat. This is the last place you should be eating. And I was mortified. I was appalled that somebody would be so disrespectful, and people they never treat me like that. So I was like, oh my gosh. And I just looked at her and it was like, are you kidding me? You're actually saying that. But I had to laugh because I remembered exactly what I thought right before I got in that line. So she was just mirroring exactly what was going on in my consciousness. And sometimes we forget that the universe and us, there's this constant flow of energy, whether we like it or not. We are responsible for our lives 100%. So if you're sitting back and somebody's being nasty to you, you might want to just think back to what you might have been thinking right before they showed up. And, you know, it's a level of responsibility that's a little tough to swallow sometimes, because we look at the world around us and we think, you know, we think we're pretty great. And, you know, we think people should be kind to us, right? We're good people. And they are, but are we kind to ourselves? Or are we repeating the stories that we've heard from others? Are we judging ourselves? Are we judging others? It's like we're living in this push-pull experience. And really what we're seeking is, you know, love and acceptance and admiration and respect and just a joyful life of being able to love one another and support one another and be what God created us to be. But unfortunately, we have been raised to think something different about ourselves. And so it's so important that we begin to look at our spiritual path and how we do it and what we're doing with it. And can we really open ourselves up to receive whatever's in front of us? I got a phone call, would have been about a year and a half ago in February 14th, 11 o'clock at night. I get a phone call from a member of my congregation when I was with Verity Center for Better Living, which I'm no longer there. I speak there once a month, but I'm no longer the associate minister there. And so I get this phone call 11 o'clock at night from somebody who had just moved a few months earlier from Barbados and had been staying with another member of the church. And he phoned me up to say, Rev B, I don't know what to do. I'm standing outside of a locked building with my suitcases, and I'm freezing, and I have nowhere to go. I went, I'll call you right back. I hung up. I said to my husband, I said, our house is small, but we need to make room. Like, I need you to go pick him up. And so he hopped in the car. I phoned back. I said, Pierre's on his way. And he went and picked this man up. He lived with us for the next 9 months. And what a wonderful, wonderful, beautiful, spiritual, lovely person he is. And during that time, it was, for me, it was just a great joy. You know, somebody else in the house who likes to pray all the time and just was really eager to learn things. He's studying to be a minister. So we had great long conversations and stuff. It was a true joy. And then after 9 months, he went and found another place to live and has, you know, completed his immigration stuff. I think it's completed now. So he's able to now work here and whatnot. But there was something about that experience that for me, I get surprised when people close doors to each other, or when we shut someone out because it might inconvenience us. And I think when we're living in that dance, there's a part of us that must be open to the fullness of that dance, which means I don't know what I don't know. And I also don't know what's coming next, as much as I would like to, you know, sit back and decide what I want to come next. It's not necessarily how it's going to happen. But when I can just surrender into the energy. And for me, the biggest part of learning how to be a fully realized human, because that's where we're headed. We're already spiritual. It's figuring out this human thing that seems to be a challenge for us. But figuring that out means I must be willing to open my heart and to accept life as it is, because what is cannot be changed. But how I think about what is will produce my next moment, my next experience, my next part of the journey. So how I think about life, am I resentful of things? Am I frustrated with things? I was a minister out west in Canada, in British Columbia, and I had a number of members of my congregation had fibromyalgia, like a lot of them. And I thought, how does that happen? But the fascinating thing was, as I got to know the congregation, people kept telling me how sick and tired they were of the government, how sick and tired they were of traffic, how sick and tired they were of this, how sick and tired they were of that. Well, what we know is our words have power.
Yeah.
That's what we teach. Our words have power. What we think about and speak about, we bring that into our experience. So our body is a reflection of our consciousness. The life that we're living right now is a reflection of our consciousness. And if we can take responsibility for that, we can begin to move things in ways that become really powerful and positive. So the idea of me of dancing with the universe, because I really, really love to dance, is that just feeling the energy and allowing it to move us, allowing it to take us into some great and beautiful experience of life and living, which is what it will do if we let it. But if we hold back or if we're resistant, I had a great story. A young man was standing outside of a drugstore here in Toronto, and my daughter and I were going in, and, you know, he was asking for change. And I said, well, I only got this plastic thing, but I could bring you some food. And he was like, oh, that would be great. So my daughter and I go in, we buy, water and cheese and mixed nuts and a few things and bring it out and give it to him. And he was so taken by that he grabbed me and gave me a big hug. And he goes, thank you so much. And then he looks at my daughter, who at the time was about 15, and he was a little hesitant to give her a hug. It's, adult male, child, and all of a sudden he goes, oh, come here, you little shit. Grabs her, gives her a big hug. We got in the car and she goes, that is the best moment I've ever had. And I thought, oh, yes. I think as people, the very best thing we can do in the world is model a type of living that teaches those around us how to be so much more, how to be that divine self, whatever that is, to live from a place of great possibility and potential, to hold nothing back. And for me, love is a really important one. So all my emails are signed, Love B or Love and Blessings or whatever. And it's like that energy of not being fearful of loving, not being fearful of anything. And I mean, fear is part of our experience in the human world. We are fearful of a lot of things, but allowing ourselves to sort of feel it and move through it, feel it and recognize we're part of a universe that is love, that is powerful and positive, a universe that says yes to our every dream and wish. And all the dysfunctional things we're thinking as well, unfortunately, that wonderful power of we were given free will. I'm not sure what God was thinking when he gave humans free will, because we have a habit of using it in the wrong direction. But the bonus is that we can switch direction, right? We can stop that and begin to do something different. So I'm always really excited when I get to see the beauty of the world around me and the love that is there, even in the midst of things like COVID. I don't know how it is for you all down there, but in Toronto, we were locked in for a very long time. We had our masks removed about 2 weeks ago, and we're now entering probably the 6th wave of COVID. So those masks might be coming back out. I don't know. But the whole energy of fear around that has been really, really difficult for a lot of people. So when we can turn back and go, wait a minute, how can I be in this world at this time? Is the answer for me is always love. Love is the answer. It doesn't matter what the question, challenge, problem, difficulty. Love is the answer. And so if love is the answer, for me, that means acceptance of what is, acceptance of people, how they are, where they are, who they are, and accepting that everything in the world is done by people just like me. And when I know that, it helps to reduce the amount of judgment and criticism I have for others and for myself, because it's so important that we not be critical of ourselves, especially. So the show that I do on YouTube on Fridays is Just One You, the Joy Show. And my acronym for joy is Just One You. When we come to accept that we're unique and unrepeatable, that we're a divine part of this infinite universe, and begin to live from that, life gets so much easier. Okay. It becomes even joyful because something's happening that is, I don't know, kind of sweet and beautiful and positive, and there's good things that can occur. Just like Louis Armstrong being raised by a Jewish family back when Black people really didn't have much in the way of rights, and to have them take him in was a bold step at that time. But what a powerful and beautiful expression of love. Each one of us has the ability to do that, to just love regardless, and to take the fear that we're feeling and just go, you're okay. You just sit back here and I'll just move forward with the divine vision, because I know I'm okay. I'm safe. I'm secure. God's right here where I am. I trust that. So the journey that we're on is really about awakening to the idea that there's a power for good in the universe, and it's being me and it's being you. And that power can be used in any way I choose because I have free will. But for the most part, what I want to do is I want to choose it to choose to use it in a way that makes my world better for everyone. So every decision I make needs to be a decision that is inclusive and is accepting. And we live in a world right now that is quite divided in many ways. But underneath that division, there is that oneness that we can't change. It's just the reality of everything. Because God is an energy that permeates everything, every single one of us. So even when we look at somebody like Putin, we have to know that the divine is present right there. And I don't know why his choices are his choices, but they are what they are. And the only solution to anything is love. So I have to find it in my heart to forgive. And so my daily practice of prayer and meditation is so essential, because I have to come back to source every day, sometimes a couple times a day, because something happens and I go, oh, that's terrible. And then I go, wait a minute, it's still God. So how do I reframe my thinking so that when I'm thinking into this universal one, I'm bringing the energy up rather than dragging it down? I don't want to be part of the problem. I want to be part of the solution. And to be part of the solution, I have to, moment by moment, remind myself to love. And especially when it's difficult, because sometimes it really is, isn't it? We meet some people that are a little hard to accept what they're doing. Putin might be a prime example of that. But the truth is, hating on him just produces more fear, more hate, more pain, more anguish, more hell. But shining love in dark places begins to lift it, change it, alter it. Love is the answer, regardless, because there is only one power. There's only one thing going on. And as I relax into that and allow that to move forward, what happens is the world becomes a place that's beautiful, not for some of us, but for all of us, where every person is accepted just as they are, regardless of race or gender or sexual orientation or religion or the food they like or the language they speak. All irrelevant. There's only one thing going on, God the good. And that energy is right here being me, and it's being you. And each one of us have been created unique and special. And the minute we can accept ourselves and love ourselves completely, we begin to shine in a way that's totally brand new. I love a song written by Ricky Byers, maybe her and Michael Beckwith, I'm not sure, but it's called I Love Myself So Much. And it goes, you probably heard it. I love myself so much that I could love you so much, that you could love you so much, so you could start loving me. And it's interesting when we act with love, when we have somebody in front of us who's being a bit of a bear, but we choose to be loving to them, magic happens. I remember being in a drugstore a while ago where the clerk was just kind of ignoring me and tossing my stuff. And I'm like, wow. So I went, wow, are you okay? She's like, yeah, why? Oh, I'm just checking in. I'm just checking in. Just want to make sure you're okay. You just seemed like maybe you weren't. Is there anything I can do? And it's like she all of a sudden realized what she'd been doing. And she said, oh, just had a bad meeting with the boss or whatever. And I went, but you're okay? And she's, yeah, I'm good. Thank you. And it was like her mood shifted immediately because somebody saw her and paid attention to her. And rather than being ticked off and saying, well, stop being so mean to me, just recognizing that somebody else had a challenge and choosing to love them regardless. Dancing with the universe means to live in the flow, to play, to laugh, to sing, to dance, to cry, to mourn, to grieve, to be afraid, to have courage. It's about being this entire human, the light and the dark of it, the yin yang symbol, right? We're both of that. We're the sinner and the saint. So the more we can acknowledge that and just accept that everything in the world is done by people just like me. And the most important part of my journey is for me to love myself enough that I can be love in a world that frankly could really use a bit more of it. So I invite you to take the dance, do the cha-cha or the two-step or whatever, the tango, but be in the universe, be in this experience, feel all of it, the up, the down, the here, the there, be in the experience of life and living, because the alternative, well, we're not all quite ready to go there yet. So let us be in this experience and live it fully. And on that note, let us go into meditation as we begin to take the ideas of love and allow them to really land in a big way. Join with me in consciousness. Taking a deep breath in, relaxing the body. One more deep breath. What I know in this moment is there is a power in the universe that's infinite, creative, and intelligent. And I know it's right here where I am. God is all powerful, all knowing, and everywhere present. So it is the energy of life within me. It is the energy of possibility and opportunity. And as I relax into this moment, I know that love is the energy of life itself. It is the vibration of possibility. It's the all in the all. And as I quiet my mind in this moment, I recognize I am one with all that is. So when I look around, I only see God. I only see good. I see a universe that's unfolding positively, purposefully, and beautifully. I see health and vitality, wealth and well-being. I see love and peace and joy wherever I look. And the energy flowing through me is infinite and eternal, and I'm excited and delighted by it. My journey of life and living is one of gratitude. Gratitude for all that has been, all that will be, for all that I have discovered, learned, and awakened to, and all that is yet to be known. I stand in this moment as potential. I stand in this moment alive, awake, aware. And I look around and I see clearly that there is beauty everywhere. And that anything I see that would be different than that, I check in with myself. I check in with my fear, my doubt, my worry, my history that I'm bringing forward, and I surrender it all into the presence and power of God, that I might be relieved of the pain, the struggle, and that I might live in harmony with this infinite, beautiful life. Today I'm lifted, expanded, as I open my mind and heart to something brand new and live in a way that truly honors the very essence of all life. So today I say yes, 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 yes. Yes to the beloved. Yes to being in the universal flow. Yes to the dance. With a truly grateful, grateful heart, filled with love and light, I take all of these ideas and I release them into the law of mind, where I know it is fully manifest right here and now. And gratefully and humbly, I let it be so. And so it is.